there.
Blaster, just take it up to the departure end of the runway, then a left turn and a left downwind. Cessna over the threshold, coming up on the white dot, at or beyond the white dot, left turn first available. I got a high wind coming up on about a half-mile final, clear to land at or beyond. Traffic on the left face, you're following a Cessna down low off your left. Square it up just a little bit, and then we're going to get you in. Start your descent, though. Start your descent on the base. Traffic on final, give me follow on base. Base traffic, start turning toward the numbers now. High wing coming up on quarter-mile final, take it all the way down to the green. Cessna taxiing on the green, expedite down to the next hard surface. Get me some speed, there you go, go fast. This is going to be good. I got traffic on a mile final, you're following traffic ahead and to your right. High wing coming up on the threshold, take it all the way down to the green dot.
5 Charlie Sierra, 2 mile final.
A mile final, turn north, and we're going to just make you, we're going to bring you back around. Jet traffic's coming up on about a mile and a half final, runway 9er clear to land.
Okay, all right, let's listen up, guys. If you're on final for runway 9, I want you to offset to the left. I got a jet that's landing on runway 9. The jet's cleared to land runway 9 if you can make it. If not, just continue straight ahead. It looks like you're going around for the jet. That's fine.
Oh, we had one right in front of us, sir.
Tail dragger. Let's see, what we got, a tricycle, put it down. Tricycle, put it down. Tail dragger, down to the green dot, then a left turn. Short final here, you cleared land on 9, all the way to the white dot, go down to the white dot. Find somebody to follow out here. Canard, just come to the runway and I might have to just send you around. That'll be fine. And for the jet, you just want to stay in this pattern or you want to go back out for an instrument approach?
Stay in a pattern, Charlie Sierra.
All right, just stay with me here for a minute. And my tail dragger, let's see, over the numbers, go down to the green. And Canard's going to have to go around. Canard, go around. And my high wing here over the runway, keep it airborne. You do not descend. You got a fast guy behind you. Do not descend. There you go. Keep it airborne. As soon as the guy behind you gets slowed down, I'm going to put you down. So keep it airborne. The one that just passed the white dot, make a left turn on the hard surface. All right, my high wing tail dragger, you can put it down now. And Charlie Sierra, let me get you about a mile off. Let's see, Charlie Sierra, I lost. There you are. Make a left-hand turn. I'll try to resequence you here on the downwinds. We'll see how it looks. Short final, you're clear to land runway 9 on the white dot. There you go. And the tricycle left on the hard surface and follow the flagman. Welcome. Thanks for being part of the show. And let's see, just find somebody to follow on the final. And as you get close to the runway, if it's not going to work, we're going to send you around and then try to resequence you. Now, who else got sent around that's not back on the downwind? The Canard?
Yeah, Canard.
All right, Canard, there's a Gulfstream up there that went around too. I just lost sight of him, but you're going to make kind of a left-hand turn and stay low. I think Charlie Sierra, what's your altitude?
3,200.
Okay, that'll be fine. Just maintain VFR. I don't know what else is up there above you. Probably most everybody's down here, so just make a left-hand turn. We'll try to get you back here.
Canard's got the jet in sight.
Okay, the RV, maybe an RV-10, whatever, here on final. Keep your speed up and go all the way down to the, aim for the green dot for me. Actually, keep your speed up. There's a guy behind you. Aim for the green dot, and I'm sure that's plenty of room for you to land on runway 9. You're clear to land on runway 9. Number 2, you're going to go down to the white dot. Follow the white dot. Actually, you know what? That's 1,500 feet. You're going to land at the white dot. The spacing looks adequate here. 2 guys on final. You're kind of tight there. Keep each other in sight, and you're going to aim for the white dot. If it's not going to work, we'll come up with a plan B. We might have to send you around. The second guy behind you out there in about a 2-mile final. Are you slow enough to be able to follow that guy in front of you? You need to go around.
Yeah, I can follow.
Well, I probably shouldn't ask that because I had about 5 guys answer me, so I should know better than that. After 35 years, you would think, right? All right, so let me see. The guy who's number 1, it's number 1. What kind of airplane is he? An RV type. All right, RV type. Keep it airborne for me. And I got a fast guy behind you. The number 2 guy over the trees there. Go ahead and put it down on the numbers. My first guy just coming up on the numbers at the over the grass at the numbers. I want you to keep
T-minus 1 minute and counting.
Hello. Three, two, one.
Hello. Welcome to the live stream tonight. It's been lovely outside. There's been wind, there's been rain, there's been sunshine, there's been rainbows, there's been everything. But tonight, you've just got 60 minutes of pure amateurism, basically. However, I would like to first say something and pay tribute to a very professional company, SkyDemon, who support the live stream. Thank you very much, SkyDemon, and to deliver you this week's top tip from the man himself.
Hi, I'm Tim from SkyDemon. Welcome to this week's top tip. In SkyDemon, we license all the AIPs for countries across Europe and provide those documents to you as a standard part of your subscription. You'll find them here in the Airfields tab. There are other companies who create documents for airfields, often containing information not present in the AIPs, and in many cases, we make those available through SkyDemon as an optional extra. In the UK, we offer the flight guides from AFE and Poolies. Both of them contain loads of information for hundreds of UK airfields, and if you've bought a subscription to them, you'll see their documents here alongside those from the AIP. This is the AFE plate for Compton Abbas, and this is the Poolies plate. You can also go into My Flight Guides, then pick the one you want, and you'll often see lots of general useful information at the top, which isn't associated with a particular airfield. For our full user manual, go to skydemon.aero and choose Help and Support.
There you go. Yeah. Got to admit it, I am a purchaser of one of those. I'm not going to say which one it is because I don't want to make an enemy of the other one.
I had a weird flashback to the time of paper guides. And it's like, you remember those cumbersome things?
Did you have the spiral binder, or did you just keep them in the one that they came with? Spiral binder that you could keep all your pages in.
I had a spiral binder.
There was a short period in my life when I subscribed to the JEP IFR plates, or I should say when JEP courteously gave me a subscription to the JEP IFR plates.
The updates for that were forever. I remember a time at the office where there wasn't a day when the postman wasn't completely encumbered with deliveries from JEP for you.
I know. And at the end of every month, or at the end of cycle, you'd sit there taking those. It was like, really? It's just like, now, no longer. So
the magic of the digital world. Talking of magic, it must be time for Simon. And after a couple of pretty poor days last weekend, I'm pleased to see he's wearing a shirt and here live, because that usually means good weather.
Oh, Ed, you know me too well. You do. Actually, it is going to get a little bit better. But I'm very excited about today first and what's been going on today, because have I got a chart for you? Let's bring it up.
Scooty, Simon.
Off. Look at that. Oh, dear missus. So this is Scooty from today. Basically, it's a highs versus temperature diagram. And when we see them like this, red is temperature, blue is dew point, and hopefully just about make out that grey line to the right. So that grey line is sort of an imagined parcel of air being forced upwards through the atmosphere. And when it's to the left of the red line, it means the atmosphere is stable, not a lot going on, actually pretty good for flying. When it's to the right, it means the atmosphere is unstable. Normally it just runs along the red line, but then when you start to get quite a long way to the right here, it suggests that you've got very deep QNIM clouds. And in fact, this shows a base of QNIMs this afternoon at about 2,500 to 3,000 feet, and a top there busting through the tropospores, and tops there getting up to near 30 to 35,000 feet. So we love those charts as weather men and weather women, but you know what? It's not that great for flying. It is getting better though, like I say. Something else that you can look out for are charts like this. This is the 500 millibar chart for this afternoon. This is about 18,000 feet in the atmosphere. Now ignore the different colours and things on there. Just look at the straight lines. Think of them as isobars. I get into real trouble with other meteorologists about calling them isobars. They're not really, but just think of them as isobars. Don't tell them I said said that to you. Can you see the U shape that they make? So that U shape tells us that it's unsettled weather. So it's U for unsettled. Jet stream is here where the lines are closest, and a very strong jet stream this afternoon, 180 to 200 knot winds going through the Bay of Biscay and through Central Europe. This is actually a chart that you probably see more likely in late October rather than late September. So it's quite an unusual one. And of course, we did a heavy rain this afternoon, 40 to 60 millimeters of rain being recorded in some areas this afternoon. So it really was an unsettled one. I'm pleased to say, though, it is going to get a little bit better as we go into the weekend. So this is forecast for tomorrow. Low pressure off towards the east. This is a northerly wind coming down through the country, bringing polar maritime air. Those of you who have been to weather school will know by now that polar maritime air is sunshine and showers. You can normally fly around the showers, though, because we get good visibility in between. What you don't really want to be flying too close to are troughs such as this one over Scotland. So some hefty showers northern and western Scotland tomorrow, a few around northern and western parts of Wales, some more persistent rain potentially East Anglia and southern England at first tomorrow morning, but that will be clearing away, leaves us with a breezy day, a much colder day, and gusts of around sort of 25 knots, maybe an early 30 to 35 across East Anglia in the southeast, but it should get better. I think Friday afternoon probably is going to be the best time to fly. Now, Saturday, weak front coming into the west of Scotland, brings some low cloud and some bits and pieces of rain here. Also for northern and western parts of Ireland, a few across northwestern parts of England as well, but these will just be showers. Elsewhere, weak ridge of high pressure. I do think quite a fair amount of cloud around, bases of around 3,000 feet, tops at about 6,000 or 7,000 feet. So nothing too untoward once you're away from those western coasts. I think perhaps just a little bit of mist and fog as well first thing on Saturday morning, but that is going to be clearing quickly. And then Sunday, the message is fly Sunday morning, because we've got a weak ridge of high pressure over us. Oops, sorry, let's go back. A weak ridge of high pressure over us. That will probably bring about some morning mist again. That should clear quickly ahead of this deep area of low pressure that moves into the west of Ireland late on Sunday, bring some rain into southern parts of Wales and southwest England on Sunday afternoon. But if you can get ahead of that, well, really, base is 5,000 to 6,000 feet, tops about 10,000 feet. But this stuff coming in from the west is going to be bringing winds, gales, low cloud, poor visibility. So basically what I'm saying is get out there early on Sunday. Right, I'll leave you with that for now. No weather schools for you at the moment because they're all fully booked, so I might as well not tell you about it. Just get out there and enjoy the flying if you can. I'll see you next week.
Thank you very much, Simon.
Thanks, Simon.
Thank you, Simon.
He leaves us with just a chart.
Well, that was me pressing the wrong button. I knew which was the correct button, but obviously there's no point in pressing the right button because that would destroy the brand entirely.
An important question, which Ian has not experienced, but Jane says, where is Teaspoon?
Teaspoon was starting to demand too many gravy bones for each appearance. Couldn't afford it anymore.
Okay, well, it's time for questions of the week, except we don't actually have one. So we thought we'd throw it open to you and see what you could come up with as a question of the week. Well, if you like to put your question in the comments, and then we'll pick it up after Annabelle's done the bit about the Flyer Club.
Wow.
Go.
I'll take that hint and I'll run with it. So, landing fees for the rest of this month, which doesn't look like you get to use them unless you go on Sunday morning. Jersey, Beccles, Netherthorpe and Enniskillen. Coming up in October, we have, ready with a graphic, Edsfield, Cromer, Kenyon Hall, Newton Ards, and 50% off at Land's End. Fly Club members, our next webinar is on Tuesday. We've got Andy Sinclair from PPLIR. He's going to be giving us an introduction to instrument flying. And if you missed our webinar with Lucy from the LAA last week, you can get that on catch up. All of that for just £5 a month.
A fantastic deal.
Absolutely. Plus, members get access to all of the content. And funnily enough, there's a whole bunch of content which has just been released. Every month we do a kind of best of flyer PDF edition. So if you prefer to read stuff on a PDF edition, then that's what you can do. Just download that. And as Annabelle said, £5 a month. And we need your £5 a month, frankly. So join. It would be good. And while you're at it, do us a favour and like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, because that would be a good thing for us as well. So give us a hand. We're giving you this because we like it. So it would be good if you can help us too. Right.
I'd like to say, in terms of help, asking the audience for question of the week has failed abysmally. So
has it?
Burton, who asks Annabelle, did you fall off the Leaning Tower of Pisa, Annabelle? Because I know you were out in Italy, weren't you? And you went up the Tower of Pisa, and I know that's not your favourite thing.
No, I don't know if this is common amongst pilots, but I really don't like heights when I'm standing on things and they're not level and they're slippery. So, no, I didn't fall off it, but I did have to hold on to a friend.
So, Kat, generally the question of the week is like to everybody, right?
That's all right. Mike Roberts has come up with a late win, which is all very weird. But he said, if you could take your teenage crush on a flight, who would it be? And he said, celebrity crush, that is. Okay, answers in the comments.
Okay, then. Well, while we're waiting for the answers in the comments, let's just quickly go around here and see who would it be. Dave?
Oh, blimey. Let's put me on the spot.
What?
Celebrity crush in my teenage years. That's an awful long time ago. It's asking a lot for me to remember that. You have to go to somebody else first because I've got to delve really a long way back.
Were they stars of the silent movie era?
Silent movies, yeah.
It would have been a 70s rock star, I would imagine.
I confess, I don't remember having a celebrity crush apart from having a poster of the Beach Starship on my wall because I was that nerdy. So,
Annabelle?
I'm put on the spot now as the one to come up with an answer. I would take Kelly McGinnis's character from Top Gun.
Oh, good choice.
She was a girl crush. It was her fault that I got into flying, so she'd be coming with me.
Okay, well, mine, if anyone's interested, was an actress called Isabella Gianni. So.
Okay. Biggles Biplane says, Sue says Martin Shaw from The Professionals. And obviously, well, Martin has a Piper Cub and a Stearman. So
maybe we can get Annabelle. Can you get him on as a guest?
Martin Shaw, of course I can. I can get anyone.
Excellent.
Any guest, anytime.
Let me write that down.
Jolly good. Really good. Right,
Excellent.
where are we?
So, some news.
That's it.
Yes.
News.
Sorry, I've got the first story, and it's about Class 2 medicals. So CAE has changed its advice from the CAE Medical Department has changed its advice to AMEs, that's aeromedical examiners, to use what's called the Q risk calculator to work out whether a pilot should do an exercise ECG. That's basically a stress test of the heart as part of the Class 2 medical. The Q risk calculator is an online calculator that works out your risk of heart attack in the next 10 years. Basically, if you're healthy with normal blood pressure, you're unlikely to get a score of less than 10%. That's a chance of heart attack in the next 10 years if you're 60 or over. And that's the threshold at which the CAA is suggesting get an exercise ECG. Okay, so why not go and get one? It seems like a reasonable idea. Well, one reason is cost. One pilot on the Flyer Forum said it cost him a total of £895 for his Class 2 medical, including the hassle of arranging the test, the exercise ECG test, and an appointment with a consultant surgeon to look at the results of the test and issue a report. And that's on top of the actual medical. And at 60, that Class 2 medical is only valid for 1 year. The fear is that it will drive some older, experienced pilots out of flying, especially some who are instructors. And instructors, of course, cannot simply opt for the pilot medical declaration. The impact on GA, as well as the individual concerned, could be absolutely massive. So, naturally enough, we asked the CAA for a response to some fairly simple questions, such as, what's behind this? Is there any evidence to suggest this is necessary? The answer, which came today, was a cop-out. Frankly, they didn't address the questions at all. I could read you that whole answer, but basically the Civil Aviation Authority's role is to protect the public, and extending the guidance will improve safety. Really? Aeromedicals are able to use their discretion for Class 2 applicants, they say, but we've heard from one AME that that's not the case at all. It's being said this is the guidance. In other words, the CAA Medical Department has done what the CAA doesn't normally do these days, but they said, we know best and we don't have to justify our actions.
Absolutely. So the other thing, well, Dave was chasing an answer because we had to chase it. You send them a thing through, and they don't actually answer normally unless you chase them these days. Plus, I thought it was quite funny, Dave, when they sent you an answer saying, "If you're going to ask us more than 3 questions, can you give us a bit of notice, please?" I thought, oh my word.
One at a time, please.
Yeah, but basically that's what they said, wasn't it? So
Well,
anyway,
I'm going to say it's a bad time to be a pensioner. Well, winter fuel payments going, and then a CA going. We need you on a treadmill. Run faster. At least you warm up. So.
Yes. And I got hold of the CA and said, well, I'll tell you what, we're going to talk about this in live stream tonight. Why don't you send someone on? We can interview them and ask them, and they can answer the questions direct. Funny enough, they couldn't quite manage that. They did say that they'd love to participate at some point in a live stream. So they have an open invitation. I sent back saying, look, whenever you want, come along, come and be a guest. We'd love you to be a guest. So Annabelle, if you'd like to get onto them, that would be good.
Sure, I have a space on the 17th of October. They haven't got an excuse. That's long enough to ask one question, isn't it?
Absolutely.
And we could have that amazing new interview slot where people who are guests ride an exercise ECG bike while answering questions.
I think that's how my internet. Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah, they were not impressive, I'm afraid.
No.
But there you go. So what's the next story? Oh, the next story is another CA story. Oh, I'm sorry about this. But you may have noticed this week up at a big exhibition in London on what was Helitech, I think, but it's now kind of become effectively the drone show. The helicopters, the few helicopters that are still left, are kind of resigned to the corner. So the CA have come out with something called CAP 3038. There you go, which is delivering scalable uncrewed, they call it. There's a big paragraph at the beginning. So we called it uncrewed, but regulatorily speaking, it means unmanned. But we want to call it anyway. They tied themselves up in knots over that a bit on beyond visual line of sight in the specific category. So they got a plan. It's going to take they're going to take 2 steps, and they want to get it in place for 2027. The thing is, they kind of realize that there's a bit of an issue here, that drones are not very good at obeying the standardized European rules of the air. They kind of can't do that see and avoid thing in Class G. It's a bit tough for them. And so the goal is for the drone operators to come up with a way to automate it all. And they're going to run some trials, some initial trials pretty soon, towards the end of this year, beginning of next year. And they're going to do that by using a danger area, a temporary danger area, or temporary restricted area, so you can't go in and mix it with them. And they'll probably introduce the odd little aeroplane to see if that, or maybe they'll just get a few infringements and see whether they manage to avoid that or not. I don't know. Anyway, CAP 3038 is a long and incredibly dull document. You wouldn't believe it by CA standards, it's dull, and the kind of bar is pretty low already to start, to be perfectly honest with you. So we all had a look through it, and we're all going to go, where is this thing that is going to magically make drones integrate with everything? What is the magic sauce, as Dave calls it? And I don't know. Did anyone out there find it? Did you find it, Dave?
I didn't find it. I found all sorts of hints towards something. But basically, I think there is a telling paragraph towards the end when it talks about Class G. And that is, they're talking about electronic conspicuity for everything. In fact, basically, pilots, when you do your pilot training, you're going to have a chip put in your arm, which is going to be your transponder for life.
So pilots going to have a chip on their shoulder.
The thing about that is, while that's not a bad idea, having transponders, to make this work for all those drones who want to have automated operations. So they want to be able to fly in, pick up a parcel, scan it, fly off to the address, come back. To make that work, they're going to have a huge ground infrastructure to pick up everybody's transponder. And somebody's going to have to pay for that. So,
fortunately, we've got loads and loads of spare air traffickers who aren't doing anything at the moment. There's a surplus of them all over the place. So I think a couple of things. If the sort of too long didn't read kind of summary is expect mandatory electronic conspicuity at some point in the not too distant future. I'm sure they'll say that it's not there, and they have kind of said they want to make it agnostic, so perhaps receive all sorts of different things. But I think that document also hints to the fact that it's going to be a flavor of ADS-B, and it also mentions that, oh, by the way, somehow we're going to have to pay for all of this, and I don't know. I suspect they'll just put their hands in their pockets and pay for it, or maybe they'll try and get some back from people who are using Class B airspace.
In a way, I've just had a bit of a revelatory thought, because that we have to, as PPLs, if we're learning to fly, we have to use ancient technology like a CRP5. So it's amazing. I guess we should be grateful that the CAA is not asking us to fly around holding a big red flag outside the aeroplane. So
with someone going ahead of you with a red flag. Annabelle's got a red airplane. She could like fly everywhere ahead of us. That would be. Yeah. So anyway, just out of interest, as a bit of a, this is not a serious thing, but I decided to look. I took the cover of CAP 3038, which is this one here. And I kind of wondered. So I kind of analysed its traffic, and there you go. There's something like they've decided in their sky there's 81% of UAS. There is 5.5% of GA, 5.5% of helicopters. And guess how many military there are? 0. Yep,
well, that's
0.
That's
and
bad news.
8% of commercial air traffic. So clearly, the future is drones. And in fact, if you spoke to some of the people who went to the drone show, they'll probably agree the future is, well, I don't know if it's a good future, but we can.
Well, you might be scarily onto something with your numbers there. So
those people who complain about aircraft noise, I can't imagine what they're going to be like when they've got literally thousands of Amazon drones delivering rubber dog turds to kids all over there.
And let's think about the fact that London is a busy population centre, so that's probably going to be prime drone delivery territory, and that is also quite a busy part of airspace as well. So.
I was in London the other day, and I'm being a bit of an old fogey here, but kind of like wandering around amongst the streets of London. I love London, but the streets of you kind of get these alternate smells these days of either kind of candy floss from someone vaping clouds, or basically someone's making marijuana. It's like one of the dystopian future is going to be candy floss, marijuana. Zones are going around all over the place, like drones. I mean.
Disturbing insight into London from Ian C. There we go.
I'm going to become a grumpy old man before long.
I want to know how you know what marijuana smells like, Ian.
Yeah.
Because I don't know.
No.
Do you know anything?
I didn't mean help.
You're nicked. Yes. Right. Before they come and cart him away, let me give you some fuel news. And this is the fact that Swift Fuels has got an FAA STC for its 100R avgas fuel for Cessna 172R and S aeroplanes. That's the aeroplanes with Lycoming IO360 L2As. Of course, if you've read Lycoming service instruction, that will tell you that particular engine is already the most flexible when it comes to fuel options, as well as 100 octane. You can run 91, 94 UL, and 93 AKI MOGAS. Swift Fuels, though, is managing a comprehensive program targeting the global replacement of 100 LL, it says, within 3 to 5 years. Swift CEO Chris DaCosta said, our 100R unleaded avgas product will be the preferred fuel to eliminate toxic lead from avgas, conveniently forgetting the fact that GAMI have also applied for an STC. Well, no, actually have an STC for 100 UL. So
every piston aeroplane.
I know, yeah. So it's the fuel war rages on, and it's like the most confused war ever. So
it's not going to end up like that, you know. It's not going to end up like that. You've only got to look at what happened in the car industry.
Yeah.
And what happened when the unleaded was compulsory? Manufacturers had to make a technical change, and people who had old cars either had to make a technical change, such as change the valve seats or whatever, but they had to lump it. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. There is not going to be some wonderful drop in fuel to solve the problem. People are just going to have to make a technical change to the aircraft.
Yeah, handily, the CAA also issued some guidance today, reminding you if you're interested in unleaded fuel, you can use it under some aircraft can use it under CS stand regs, and also reminded people that AOPA have a database, and that in future the CAA will be publishing a web page with further guidance on general aviation fuels to help the community navigate the differences between similar fuels, but maybe not give you any guidance that actually firms things up. So
you've got ahead of the drag curve, behind the drag curve, the Civil Aviation Authority,
and CAA going, is that the drag curve?
Yeah. Anyway, what's next? Is it another CAA story?
Is it what story?
Is it another CAA story, Annabelle?
No,
it's not. It's an AOPA story.
Wow.
So AOPA have announced Darren Pleasance as their next president and CEO. Wrong
that's not Darren Pleasance.
No, that's the other Pleasance.
You sure?
That's Donald Pleasant.
Is it this one?
We did discover earlier that Ian has no idea who that is. Yes, so Darren Pleasance has a 8,000-hour GA pilot, a fleet of 3 aircraft, a PA-46, an RV-6 and a Sea Ray amphibian. He has worked for John Travolta's flight operation, chartered bush flying in Alaska, big organisations including Google, and he takes up the new post on the 1st of January.
Excellent.
And I think it comes with a free cat.
A free cat.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. I didn't really get that joke. I'm going, what?
No, it's because you don't know who Donald Pleasance is.
Oh, I know.
So disappointing.
Dave.
Yes, so a strike has begun at Textron Aviation after about 5,000 members of the International Association of Machinists and Aerospace Workers, crikey, that's a long name, rejected the company's most recent proposal. This is the same union that's in dispute with Boeing, where more than 32,000 workers have been on strike since September the 13th. Boeing has made its best and final offer, it says, of 30% over 4 years plus a $6,000 bonus. The reason we're mentioning this is that the one knock-on effect of all this is that Textron won't be going to the big NBAA Business Aviation Show in Las Vegas next month. This is the biggest business aviation event of the year, and the industry looks forward to it and turns out in its thousands. Cessna Citation jets are a big part of the business aviation industry, so that's a huge blow to the show. And already Gulfstream and Dassault have said they won't be going, so this is going to be quite a difficult year for that particular show, which is normally really buzzy.
Wow. It's kind of like the Oshkosh for BizJet accountants, isn't it?
Yeah.
They don't have
it'll be a bit empty.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. That's got to hurt, because that'll be a chunk of revenue that would have just dropped out. But hey, there you go. Okay, last news story.
Finally, proof perhaps that maybe the US is looking at the UK as the best place in the world for general aviation. We know it's true. But some airports in Florida have been making plans to impose landing fees based on using ADS-B data as a means of invoicing aircraft. 5 airports, Ormond Beach Airport, DeLand, Flagler, Orlando Executive and Kissimmee are all considering the charges. And basically they go and look at ADS-B traces and go, because you don't need someone at your airport at the time to go see someone arrive. You go, oh, that person came here, I'll send them a bill. John Ife, who's airport manager at DeLand, said at a public meeting his intent to impose fees is to deter an influx of traffic from other airports that are imposing fees. He's reported as saying, if we don't impose landing fees, the airplanes going to the airports that have got fees will come to us and we'll be busy. So we'll have fees as well. Good logic there. Well done, John. Just wait, America. We can also send you Dayglow jackets and help you out with PPR.
You realise, like the cynic, I realise I've got my extra cynical tin foil hat on here. But if they're talking about charging people by using ADS-B technology, and if the CAA's drone technology blue paper, white paper, whatever it is talking about ADS-B technology and has got the sentence in, we're not quite sure how to get people to pay, or how to pay for all of this, I wonder, I don't know. But that is a bit too cynical, and I'm sure they haven't got that in mind whatsoever, and everything will be absolutely fine.
Worryingly, I'm dreaming of a future where I'm flying along and all of a sudden I detect a drone with a little blue light on the back, a little klaxon telling me I'm doing something wrong.
That would be funny, wouldn't it? It would be good. Right, I think that's all the news there is at the moment, and it's not been a joyous week for news, has it? But there you go.
No, but we can turn a corner in the show because it's time for our guest.
Right, they're going to have try a little bit of technology here. Hello, Nathan. Bear with me.
Hello. Ian's pressing buttons. Stand by.
I'm actually talking to the developers of software, saying, "Can you just make it so that when we bring somebody on, we can at least predict where they're going to go?" But no, Nathan, thank you very, very much for joining us. Thank you very much for sitting through our silly little bits of news and stuff there. So, Nathan Gray, or should it be Commander Nathan Gray? You have a long and illustrious career. Somehow you appear to have gone Navy. You've been over in America. You've been flying things like the Harrier, the F-15, F-18, F-35. You were the first person to land the F-35, I believe, on a carrier and to what do they call it? Embark and I don't know, whatever they call it. So
launch and recover. Launch and
launch,
recover.
there you go. Launch and recover. Launch and recover. But presumably there was, launch and recover. That would have you'd have had to recover and then launch, wouldn't you?
Yeah, the opposite way around. Yeah, recover first, then launch, then recover again.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah. Anyway, so an illustrious career. Plus, at the moment, you're heading up one of the ATPL or theoretical knowledge schools, Pad Pilot. So tell us how it's traditional to tell us how it all started. What was the day?
The day from the kind of the fire in the belly. It was actually back at home, my hometown, Stoke-on-Trent, and a Boeing 747 flew over with the space shuttle on the back. 1983, I think it was, and it flew straight over the top of my house, and that was that was what sparked the ambition.
And so from there, you wandered down to the Royal Navy recruiting officers and said, "I want to be a sailor."
Absolutely not. No, I tried several times actually. Tried to join the Air Force to be a pilot. Got refused several times. Got told to go and get some world experience. So joined the Air Cadets. Went to college. Went to university. Joined the University Air Squadron. And then when I popped out of university, applied for both Air Force and Navy. Got accepted by both and joined the Navy. Found my tribe and joined as a pilot. So it was pilot all the way through, 22 years. Really lucky to be selected for fixed wing. So Harrier, single seat Harrier. So flew the Harrier for 10 years. The Sea Harrier initially had a rather awful accident right at the start of my career where I had to eject straight out to take off, and sadly lost my instructor, Jack London, who was sitting in the back teaching me. But got back in the cockpit, went on to the GR7, GR9, 3 tours of Afghanistan, and then selected to go to the US Marine Corps, teach the US Marine Corps how to fly the Harrier AV-8B, and then came back to the UK, became a flying instructor on the Tucano for the Fast Jet Training School, and then selected to be a test pilot. Went over to the US Navy Test Pilot School, completed that, graduated top, and got selected for F-35. So then went on to the F-35 developmental program, and then ultimately finishing off with the testing on board HMS Queen Elizabeth. In a nutshell.
So how long did you spend simulating that first deck landing before you actually did it for real?
We started about 2 years before. In fact, the planning for it went on 4 or 5 years before that. But we did simulators. We did hundreds, maybe thousands of launches and recoveries in the simulator in the US. Again, we did replicate the same thing over here in the UK. And then we practiced lots as well in the real aircraft on our dummy deck in the US. So overall, it was about an 18-month lead in to get to that point. And that was all to do with envelope expansion as well, with the ski jump and the ramp, launching in all the right wind conditions, which is very challenging when you're on land, because as we know, you can't twist the runway into wind. But when you go to a carrier, it's like a test pilot's dream. You can generate whatever wind you like, whatever wind direction. You're able to then explore all the envelope fairly quickly and efficiently.
Do the guys driving the carrier not just always put it straight into wind for you?
They generally do for the fleet guys, yeah. But obviously, if you're constrained by for whatever reason, then the ship has to sail on a set direction. It can't just turn around just to launch a few jets. So for the trials, we had the 2 towers that we've got in the carrier. We had the team that are driving the ship at the front and the test team at the back, and they're both communicating to each other to make sure that we've got the ship is moving in exactly the right direction, exactly the right speed to get the wind over the deck in the direction that we need. So it was a lot of coordination to get the right result.
So if it's not a state secret, does things like the F-35 have like crosswind limits on decks and stuff then?
Yeah, every aircraft. I mean, every aircraft has operating limits, and so yeah, we have every jet or aircraft that I've ever flown has an envelope, and our job as the test team is to find where the edge of that envelope is, not step over it, and then bring it back a little bit for the fleet operators. Hence why we sailed straight into a hurricane to harness that weather. To get the wind over the deck that we'd never be able to achieve in normal conditions, and that just means that the envelope is huge then for the fleet operators.
Blimey! So what speed did you manage sailing into a hurricane?
Well, so I mean the ship can make somewhere between 50, 20, 25 knots or somewhere in that region. And the wind, the natural wind was 50, 60, 70 knots. So the biggest challenge actually in those conditions is walking out to the jet, and for the deck, the safety of the deck crew as well. Everybody's stood at about a 45-degree angle just to not fall over and not be blown overboard.
Yeah, because I'm guessing in the world of test pilots, to be the guy who was injured walking to the airplane would be bad.
Yeah, or to lose all your test cards overboard in the wind. Yeah.
You would get a call sign if you were that person, wouldn't you?
Oh, you would definitely get a call sign. Yeah, that's how they start.
Was there a target date in mind for that first recovery and launch, or did you just wait until you thought you were ready and then said, "Let's do it"?
No. I mean, the coordination that went into it was huge. From the UK side, the US side, the F-35 program, everything had to be coordinated, to the minute, and it was almost executed to within a minute, maybe an hour or so late, because you can't control the fog that rolls in, and the ship had to move out of the way of the fog bank. But other than that, it was set in stone for quite a while.
And how did you know that you were actually ready to do it?
I mean, as part of the whole test planning, I mean, the test plan is really thick. It has to be signed off by tens of people to ensure that we're going to be ready, the aircraft's ready in every sense, and so you have trust, you have faith in the way that we planned it. The fact that as a test unit, we've done this lots of times before on other carriers with different aircraft, and with the F-35, so it wasn't like it was a new thing, but it was for us personally, it was a case of, do you feel comfortable? And that's not just doing the normal stuff. We take the aircraft into fairly degraded states, because anything could happen. When you're blue water ops, when you've got no diversion, you want to know that you can operate that aircraft in the worst state that it could possibly be.
So, having spent, what did you say, 10 years flying the Harrier?
Yeah, 10 years.
So, in comparing the Harrier to the F-35, how would you compare that in terms that we might understand?
It's really hard for anybody to understand. It's a quantum leap difference. Just the sense of fusion, how everything's the aircraft was designed, from the bottom all the way up to incorporate every element that it has. Whereas the Harrier was initially, and then obviously bolt-ons come in, more additions come in, urgent operational requirements. But the F-35 is like a thoroughbred. It's through and through phenomenal. It really is. Whereas the Harrier was in its day, but then when you compare them, you just can't. It really is really challenging to compare. But the Harrier is fun to fly, and it's hugely capable in things like close air support.
In terms of hovering, Nathan, is it true that because obviously it's there's quite a lot going on when you're hovering a Harrier, and there's we had a guest on here a while ago who talked about the fact that you could run out of water and water injection for the engine and things like that, and that could cause recovery. Is the F-35, and is it true that that's just like a push button hover situation and it'll do a whole bunch of things for you?
I wouldn't say it does anything for you. I mean, you still have to fly it, but you could in its highest level. I mean, you can hover, and it takes all the stress, all the hand-to-eye coordination that you need with the Harrier, and you really need with the Harrier, balancing on top of that needle effectively. The F-35 removes all of that stress. So you say it does what you want it to do. If I want it to move to the right, I move right on the stick and it moves to the right. With the Harrier, if I want it to move to the right, I'll try and get it to go that way, and then I'll have to play with the throttle, and I'll have to play with the nozzles, and it's one bit, and the rudders, it's all one big handful. Whereas the F-35 is very coordinated. Yeah. And
I guess the other thing we've seen talked about with the F-35 is you've got this fantastic helmet, haven't you?
Yeah, it's it's a large helmet. It's certainly the prototypes that I flew with are very expensive. In the order of, depends on the generation, but $200,000, $300,000, $400,000. So when you accidentally stand up and hit your head on the wing and damage the helmet, it doesn't go down very well. But it's the means of you getting all the information. With the head-up display reflected onto your eyeball, so there's no head-up display physically in the cockpit. It's there. You've got two of them on each on an eyeball, each eyeball. Sorry, and it's basically a computer sitting on top of your head, but perfectly balanced, and yeah, it's not something you would notice if you've got to move your head around at all.
That's amazing, because if engineers had dreamt something like that up for the Lightning back in the 60s, it would have been like 90% pulling you back in your seat or something, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would be about the weight of the aircraft on your head. It would, yeah.
So if you now go back through pretty much everything you've flown, it sounds to me like the F-35 has got to be the pinnacle. Is that fair, or can you look back and go, no?
It is. Yeah, it is. I mean, depending on each variant's different. The A, the B, and the C, they're all different, but they're all in their own right phenomenal. But I think every aircraft is a compromise effectively. So the F-15 had an amazing capability. Complete. Just the amount of stores that you could carry in the fuel and the power, it was phenomenal. The F-16 really sporty, so it's a thoroughbred fighter. The F-18, absolutely loved it because it's carefree handling. I may have come into work, not flown the F-18 for 2 months, and somebody says, "Oh, there's an F-18 flight, the jet's free, go and take it for an hour." And within 20 minutes, I'll flip through the cards, remember the numbers, jump in it, take it for a flight, and it looks after you. It's so highly capable. And then you've got the Harrier, which, depending on which variant it was, when you look at the one we finally decommissioned, the GR9A, was unbelievable in the role that we built it for, in the close air support. So every one of them is a winner in my eyes.
What was the earliest Harrier you flew?
That was the FA2. In fact, it would be the T8, the two-seater T8. Yeah. Yeah.
So years ago we published a book called A View from the Hover by John Farley, who was the Harrier test pilot, and so we spent quite a lot of time talking to him about that. And we were talking about something called the Farley climb, which is kind of where he would just pitch up and climb vertically. Yeah. And I have to say, the way he explained it, he kind of said it's actually really easy. You just have to balance the throttle and the power. It's not very difficult at all. And whenever he spoke about flying any aspect of the Harrier, he made it sound like it was like the simplest thing, that anyone who'd had, I don't know, a trial lesson on a Cessna 150 could basically jump in with a bit of a briefing. But I'm guessing it wasn't really like.
Yeah, I don't think the number of crashes and incidents that we had with the Harrier would justify it be, saying it's that easy. I've never done a Farley climb. I've done the reverse, potentially the bow, and then something. The initial start of a Farley climb up to about 40 degrees nose up, but rotating the aeroplane about the nozzles, basically playing with the two at the same time and the throttle, actually really challenging, I think. It's to say that it was easy is proves the quality of the man.
I think he knew I was never going to be anywhere near one, so it didn't really matter.
I'm guessing on the F-35 now, if you want to do a Farley climb, that's just an update on your phone, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it won't let you. It just won't let you. Yeah, it's not. It won't consider it a safe or stable thing to do. Yeah.
I was lucky enough a few years ago to be on a ship where there were some Harriers operating, and we were like talking to them. And we joke about, sometimes we get to the news at 19:55 and sometimes we get to the news at 8 o'clock or something. But these people were saying they had to give their time back on deck, and it was to within a stupid number of seconds, let alone anything else. And then they were debriefing with these little tapes, and it seemed to operate the Harrier was an extremely complicated thing, writing down coordinates from forward air controllers and stuff, instead of a nice little someone going, well, I'll send you a text message with my phone, please, and just put it in the sat nav or something. And it seemed there was a lot going on, really. It seemed to be more difficult to operate the aircraft almost than fly it at times.
Yeah, and that's where the new jet, the F-35, and the new carrier as well. It's all built so that it attempts to take away that stress, so that you can purely focus on the mission itself and not actually be too concerned about the launch and the recovery. But it is still, the whole coordination. It's a floating city, and the ship does have to. It has to go somewhere, but it also has to turn into the conditions that are favourable for the aircraft to recover. So it all has to be done to a time. It can be that you're flying towards the carrier and it's not on the heading it should be on, and then at that second that you said you were coming in, it turns onto that heading. So it's a very finely tuned machine. It really is.
Yeah. So do you fly? Do you still fly, or have you hung up your extremely expensive helmet?
Well, I've hung up my flying gloves. I still test drones, design and test drones. I heard you talking about that earlier. But the majority of my time is spent working with the team at Pad Pilot and trying to engineer and be part of this transformation of what the next generation of pilots are. Increase safety and increase the knowledge that we all need to be able to make the right decisions in those split moments. So that's what I do now.
There was a comment in the comments. Surprisingly, Matthew says, "Pad Pilot, we've been issued with it at L3 Harris. I've been using it for Principles of Flight revision today."
Yeah, L3 Harris are one of our trusted partners. So I'm glad that person's got the books, and hopefully it'll be interactive. It'll make the ground school that I remember back in 20 or 30 years ago. It makes it interactive, interesting, brings real world scenarios. So I'm pleased that individual's got access to it.
So just an overall question, not relating obviously to your material or anything. And you went through the test pilot school at presumably was it Pax River or somewhere?
Yeah, Pax River.
And you've obviously done quite a lot of learning and quite a lot of courses through the military. the ATPLs sometimes have been criticised for the theory that you learn not necessarily being matched with the demands of flying a 737 or A320 around. Is there much difference in the? I mean, clearly the military didn't go, right, here you go for the Tiger Moth, and then you go and jump in a Tucano. And I'm sure the ATPLs aren't like that. Are they well matched, would you say?
So are you asking, is the ATP syllabus well matched to what's actually required for an airline pilot? I think it's near where it needs to be. But the learning objectives, what we need out of our pilots now, with the high-tech aircraft, or the next gen things that are coming, but also the fact that a lot of the students have done maybe modular or a 1-year course, whatever it is, and they're straight onto that flight deck. It's a very fine balance in getting the right knowledge to them in the right time, and making sure that it's got primacy. So you're not just answering multiple choice questions, passing the exam and jumping into a cockpit. You actually know the material. But then our responsibility is to instill that knowledge, and make it interesting, and make it have longevity to it, so that you're not having to go back to it when you do your type rating, when you do your captaincy, when you go for another job interview. So you learn it once, and that's all you need to do.
Cool. What have you got lined up for the future then?
Incorporating AI into the syllabus, into the training material. We're also looking at micro learning, not necessarily gamification, because I'm not a believer that flying we shouldn't have to gamify how you fly an aircraft, because you'll be sat on the flight deck maybe up to 8 hours. And if you need games to keep you interested, that's not potentially the career for you. But certainly micro learning, to be able to instill in short bites the right amount of information, and that's what we're working on predominantly at the moment.
Aviation wise, have you ticked the boxes you want to tick? I mean, you've ticked some very big boxes, clearly boxes that most people are not going to get anywhere near. But I don't know. Do you get to a point you go, right, I've done that, I'm going to go and play golf or something?
I'm quite happy walking in the hills, going for a run. But I think for me, it's now working with that next generation. To know that we're building the future pilots that we need. The last numbers I saw were 785,000 pilots we need over the next 20 years in global commercial air operations. That's a huge number, and we can't just put them through a sausage machine, because we need the quality at the end. The input is always changing with each generation, but the output has to stay the same. And so how do we maintain that safety, especially since we're becoming less tolerant of any safety issues whatsoever? We've got to get this right.
Airline pilots shouldn't have nicknames. Cool. Have we got any questions out there?
I think we're all pretty good. Mike Roberts had a note about the cost of the F-35 helmet. He said, with inflation, the Bose A40 will be a similar price. Matthew says it feels like there needs to be a conversation between ATPL syllabus and what is taught in a type rating. Discussed. So, and Matthew says, micro learning, is that a bit like flashcards?
A little bit more complex than that. But it is micro learning, is micro elements, different technologies all used to produce that short, sharp burst of information. So it is part of it. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Wow, cool. Well, that's. I mean, I think the trouble is with a career like yours, that I mean, you could. It's. We haven't even got to the operational deployments or anything else. So there's clearly way too much to cover in because I think do you win a medal or are you awarded a medal? I'm not really sure, but you've got a medal or two out there. And so there's clearly all sorts of stuff we could delve into. Unfortunately, we're kind of already somehow 4 minutes over. So we're going to have to kind of say, well, we'll have to get you back at some point so you can tell us the rest. Thank you very much. And if you could hang around and help judge Fancy Hangar, that would be great. But I'm the one who needs to win. So
sounds good. Here we go.
Thank you.
Very good. So, Erotique says, another top guest, many thanks. Oh, and there's a question we can ask him when he comes back. Has Nathan ever aspired to space travel? I'm sure if you put his mind to it, he's the sort of guy who could. So, Fancy Hangar, inspired by Nathan's talk of carrier ops, we thought, hey, let's pick aeroplanes that have operated from ships. So, who is first?
Dave is first, funnily enough.
Dave, what's he gone for?
Well, I've chosen one of the aircraft mentioned by Nathan, and that is the Sea Harrier. It's Britain's vertical takeoff and landing fighter. That's a brilliant picture, isn't it? It's takeoff and landing fighter. Developed by Hawker Siddeley at first, powered by a single Rolls-Royce Pegasus turbofan engine with 2 intakes and 4 vectorable, can't say that word, 4 nozzles, which turn. It first entered service with the Royal Navy in 1980, served in the Falklands, where it kind of really shone as the only fixed-wing fighter available to protect the British task force, shot down 20 enemy aircraft, as well as taking part in ground attacks. The Sea Harrier was withdrawn in 2006, but the Royal Navy continued to use the Harrier 2, in this case, as Nathan mentioned, the GR9. The whole Harrier thing was retired in 2010 due to budget cuts, which, according to Paul Tremelling, a former Royal Navy pilot who was on the live stream talking about his book, How to Be a Fighter Pilot, Paul said it was far too soon. I didn't mean to ask Nathan that question. Maybe we'll get a chance later. And I found, while I was doing a little bit of research, I found this brilliant story of an ejection while in the circuit to land on HMS Illustrious of somebody ejecting and what happened during that whole ejection process. Unfortunately, there wasn't a name on the article. It's on the Navy Wings website, and we've got the link somewhere. It's well worth a read because it tells you basically how quickly things can go from peachy to very wrong.
I found the link. I'll put it in the comments so you can check.
And while you're putting in the comments, we'll move to Annabelle's choice.
I have chosen the Corsair, perhaps one of the best carrier aircraft ever. Nearly 2,000 horsepower Pratt & Whitney double Wasp radial engine attached to a propeller with a 4-meter diameter. The iconic gull-wing design that helps even those with the worst spotting skills, like me, identify it, was a solution to give it enough deck clearance. Apparently, it was the first single-engine US fighter to exceed 400 miles per hour, and the kill ratio has been estimated at 11-1. Also, it's a Corsair.
It looks great.
It does look good. It does look good. I'm gonna ask you to go next, Ed.
Okay, well, I can go next. And my choice means I get to say, talk to me, Goose, as I picked the Grumman F-14 Tomcat. Yeah, I know I could have picked plenty of other cool piston-powered warbird types, but for me as a child, I grew up with Top Gun as one of the films that inspired my childhood. And this is one aeroplane that definitely left an impression on me. I even had a model of it hanging from my bedroom ceiling. Amazingly, it first flew in 1970 and was a frontline fighter for the US Navy until it retired in 2006. A couple of interesting things about the Tomcat. In testing, they flew it with one wing swept and the other unswept. How cool is that?
It's like a baby dog with little ears that go up and down on one side.
It does make, yeah, it's like, it's also a jet that could do semaphore signals. But I don't think that was the intention. So, yeah, they proved that you could land it back on the ship if you had this weird asymmetric wing thing go on. It also didn't have ailerons, but it had spoilers on the wings for low speed control and all moving tail or tailerons for high speed. But yeah, so I pick Tomcat, and I think
who needs ailerons anyway?
All right,
yeah, exactly.
I think I'm feeling confident here because I think you guys have gone for the very predictable. I mean, the Corsair, an absolutely beautiful piston. The Harrier is an icon, and the F-14. Well, it's just. But you've kind of all overlooked probably the most beautiful carrier-based aircraft of all time. Funnily enough, the Fairy Gannet, 3 crews, 1 engine, 2 props. Look how complicated that bloody thing is. Plus, when you go to the bar later and people ask you about your engine, you can go, well, it was due to be powered by a Rolls-Royce Tweed, because that was very nice. But in the end, it was an Armstrong Siddeley. Mr. Armstrong Siddeley double Mamba. I was working it up for my double Mamba bit, and I got it wrong. 2,950 soft horsepower. I mean, that thing is a bloody classic, isn't it? It's just amazing. However, at the end of the day, I did have to revert to the type on which I have probably 1,000 deck landings of my own, most of them at night, and that is the Airfix Flight Deck.
Brilliant.
So that Airfix Flight Deck, when I think we can all agree that's an F4 Phantom, don't you? I think there you go. Airfix Flight Deck, that's the aeroplane for me.
Yes.
When I've got all the hours in.
Andrew Zabak says of your Gannet, how complicated can we make a carrier-based aircraft? I think it's fair to say, that's like we were saying about the fantastic helmet that Nathan wears or wore to fly the F-35. The Gannet was probably just a whole bunch of ergonomic nightmares. You know, there's people in the back, people in the front, people being vibrated to death, 2 engines Siamese together, driving 2 propellers through a gearbox. The wings that, hey, why fold it once when we can fold it 16 times? And so
that is kind of why I picked it originally, because it's just that is basically someone who once upon a time had an idea of doing something like that and hung on to the idea for too long and did too many bits and pieces to it. But it's glorious in its complexity, I think.
And looking through the comments straight away, clearly, Nick Allen thinks my choice is correct. Tomcat, Aerotiques. We know you love a Sea Fury, Darren. Swordfish, Bearcat. What about, Michael Roberts, technicality. Dave loses on account that wasn't a Sea Harrier.
But it was a brilliant photograph, which is why.
But it was definitely on a ship, wasn't it? So
yes.
So what else we got? Andrew says, what was that tail dragger jet I saw at Yeovilton? Which is clear. Andrew's a mate of mine. He was over from the States. I took him to Yeovilton and he saw the amazing submarine attacker. Oh, is it attacker or scimitar? It was the attacker, says Julian Treadmill. Treadmill. Sorry, Julian. What else have we got? Submarine Seahawk.
These are not votes for our airplanes. Edwin's.
Yeah, there we go. There's a lot of Edwins. Annabelle wins for me. Love the Corsair, Buccaneer, Mitsubishi Zero. And Darren of Aerotique says Ian's been on the cannabis again.
Hey, I don't smoke. I don't eat cakes. I don't.
Yeah, A5 Vigilante. That was a big aeroplane to operate off a carrier. So Ian wins. Annabelle wins. Fairy, hold my beer. Watch this. Super Flight Deck was better. I didn't even know there was a Super Flight Deck.
There is a Super Flight Deck, and it probably was better, but I didn't have that model. And
of that Super Flight Deck game, I saw some YouTube videos this week of the game of a couple of American games. One where there was an aeroplane that you flew with a little controller from the side. It had like a thing in the middle, and it was like control line for inside your house, which looked deadly lethal. And I found that because I was looking for the helicopter that used to fly on little controls. And I feel that we're going to have to go on like a historic, maybe we do a Christmas special where we go and find all those games.
I think you laugh, but this Super Flight Deck, that was so realistic. That was actually used in the initial F-35 trials.
You should ask Nathan about that.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, let's see. Let's get Nathan back in. Nathan.
Hey, Ian.
You're gonna have to pronounce judgment on one of our 4 choices. And
I was disappointed the Sopwith Pup wasn't on there. First ever aircraft to land on a moving platform at sea. That would have been my first choice. I'm afraid I'm going to choose the Tomcat.
Yes, good man.
It was, it was just like you said, Ed. It was the first. I think it was the first aircraft that I'd seen in a movie that obviously just kept firing that ignition in my belly to go for it. So yeah, I think it did it for a lot of people.
Fantastic. Good.
Okay.
I'll take that.
Fair enough.
Sorry,
Okay, so that's okay. That's okay. You know.
And Dave, it was a GR7 in your picture, but you did have a good line of 4 or 5 Sea Harriers in the background.
Right.
So there were Sea Harriers in that picture.
Oh, thank God for that. Right.
Right. What have we got in terms of events? Because we're overrunning at the moment.
Right, but it's not a busy weekend. Saturday there's a flying at Barton, Manchester, and also a vintage flying at Welshpool. Saturday and Sunday there is the crazy name event, the Bullpup Flyer McRobertson Race Anniversary Members Flying at Cotswold Airport, otherwise known as Campbell.
Excellent.
Wow. There you go. And that leaves me just to say thank you again to SkyDemon for supporting the live stream. Thank you everyone out there for watching and joining us. Have a good weekend. Hope you enjoy your flying. Thank you very much, team. Thank you, Nathan. And we'll see you next Wednesday if you're a member. If you're not a member, why not? Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Do us a favor. Have a good time. And we'll see you all soon. Thank you very much. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, everybody.